Well, hey, Eric. Hey, man, I can't thank you enough for joining me on this Monday after Thanksgiving. How you doing?
It's always great to see you, Corey. It's great to be here and talk about one of my favorite subjects. Hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving and heading into the holiday season.
Thank you so much. Great topic. I wanted to talk to you about philanthropy, giving back. I immediately when this topic came out, I knew you'd be the right person for us to have this conversation. So 'tis the season for giving. So let's talk a little bit about philanthropy and giving back to the community.
Yeah, let's do that. I'm super passionate about this topic, and it always does. You're right. It comes up this time of year. It's always bittersweet with me when it comes up this time of year, because while it's a great time for us all to think about how thankful we are and how much we have and how we can give to other people, giving is something that needs to happen all year long. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But this is the time of year I think that we always think about it. One of the reasons that we give, or we should give, is that it's been proven, research has shown, giving makes you feel good. It much better than if you had an extra few dollars to spend. Giving it makes you feel better than spending it on yourself, and research shows that. I think anyone who spends any time in volunteer organizations or giving to a charitable cause can appreciate the fact that you feel better when you give to someone else who might not be able to do things on their own or have the resources to help themselves.
Absolutely. And obviously, from a personal standpoint, we're in that realm of it's always better to give than receive, as you had mentioned. But as it relates to business, and I think there's a lot of things that you had mentioned before we jumped on here, I didn't even think about in terms of giving back, philanthropy, and how it relates to business. So the big why. So why should businesses care about giving back?
So I think there's a number of reasons why they should. The business reason is it makes you look good in front of the community. It makes you look good in the business world, and that's always something that corporations are after. But more than that, a good culture in most good businesses involves others. It involves the team that works for you and the families that they support and the communities that they live in. And it's much like the work that we do here at Wingspread. Wingspread is a program of the Johnson Foundation at Wingspread, and they were born and built to be a philanthropic organization. In fact, the home that I'm sitting in is the historic Wingspread property built by Frank Lloyd Wright for the Johnson family in 1938. And the Johnsons ultimately ended up giving this building and this campus to the Johnson Foundation for philanthropic work. Wow. So the whole core of what we do is to support nonprofits and other worthy groups that want to hold a meaningful meeting or discussion around topics that are important to them or important to the world. So philanthropy kind of runs in our blood here. So
wonderful. So much out there. Obviously, we're overwhelmed with a lot of messaging. A lot of people, there's a lot of opportunities to give back, but sometimes it's overwhelming. People, I'm sure they're not exactly, they're so inundated with messaging, are skeptical because of the things that we've heard. So how can somebody easily start on the right foot getting in a philanthropic program?
And I hate to say that people should be skeptical, but they should be skeptical. And I think one of my beliefs is that it's always much better to be in the driver's seat of your giving than to answer some phone call or email that says, hey, we're looking for donations, and then giving that to who knows who. Right. It's much better to drive your donation where it needs to be, where it needs to go, or where you have a passion around it. So there's one, great website that I always like to refer to. It's called Charity Navigator, and anybody can find it just by Googling Charity Navigator. What's interesting about that organization is that they've been around for 20 years. What they do is they help align charitable needs with your passions, your values. You can search by any number of categories and keywords to find a charity that has been scrubbed a bit by Charity Navigator, looking at IRS data, partner information, some of the charity information that they give to Charity Navigator, and they kind of use that information to sort of gauge the worthiness and give it a score. But they've had 11 million visitors to that website every year for the last, that's what they average for the last 20 years. And they've got what I really like is there's a what's called a giving basket that they have, which basically you can put your money into this basket and then decide where it should go out of that basket, and Charity Navigator handles it all for you. So whether it's a repeating gift or whether one-time gift, you can make it much easier on yourself by dropping some money in that basket, and they can help you distribute that. By doing that, Charity Navigator's given over $170 million through that program. So it's, that's only one of many, many other charitable research organizations, but it's one of the ones that I like the most. They show some strong governance over their own organization, and we know that's very important in nonprofits. A nonprofit with weak governance is questionable in my book. I think you'd want to make sure that you're giving your money to someplace that doesn't have outrageous executive compensation structures, somewhere where the most money is, or the most good is done with your money.
I love that. Now, a question for you. From the creative side of me, you just mentioned that and opened up something I was thinking about, and always looking to do something that's going to break through the stereotypes or the vanilla, so to speak. Could you put together a customized program so it was a charitable opportunity that aligned with your business goals and outlook? So there's that branding. So you're on brand, for instance. So your company is giving back or supporting a need or a cause that aligns really well with your company and those alignments, and be able to creatively craft around messaging and things that really align with the brand. I'm assuming that
for sure. I mean, there are some big ones in the world that we don't often think of. Sometimes we do, but let's look at a company like Bombas, right? They sell socks, but one of the biggest needs is socks in areas, in homeless shelters and areas around the world where they don't have that sort of thing. So they're sort of, at least they started with, I hope they forgive me, they're buy one and they give one, or some similar program like that. Happens in that company. I know it happens with some shoe manufacturers where they're giving footwear as a donation because it's one of their causes. So you're absolutely right. You can be very on brand within your own corporation and give to a cause that supports what you do. It's a great idea.
Oh, that's fantastic. So yeah, getting back to I know you touched on some of it in terms of really finding a legit outlet or a cause. So it sounds like Navigator would be a perfect place to start.
That's a great one. There's another one that just happened to pop into my head that's really timely. Tomorrow, we happen to be sitting here on a Monday, but tomorrow it happens to be Giving Tuesday, which is this sort of radical generosity day where people give to all kinds of charities. Oftentimes that charitable donation is matched, but the reason I bring that up is that givingtuesday.org is their website, and all year long they have a similar sort of research and comparison capability within their website that can help someone determine where the worthy cause is for their funds. Nice. There's lots of great opportunity to do that. I think the other thing I'd like to touch on when we talk about what to give and where to give is that doesn't have to be money. We talk about clothing drives and food drives and things like that. And these things tend to happen around the holidays. You tend to do coat drives in the winter because you think, oh, I'm starting to get cold, so I need to start doing a coat drive at work, or donate my coat to the local grocery store who's going to give it to a shelter. And that's great, but think about doing that in the summer or the spring or the fall. Because if you think about a local shelter, your local shelter down the road, that might get cases and cases and cases of donated gloves and hats and scarves and boots and things like that. They get so inundated this time of year with that sort of donation that it hardly gets to all of the people that it could possibly get to. There's just no time to sort it. So if those sorts of things happen in the summer or the spring or the fall, there'd be time to organize it, figure out which shelters needed the clothing the most, to size things up and pair things up and things like that. So when to give is often as important as what and who to give to.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. Because I'm assuming some of the things that you are giving back is probably perishables and things that and it could go bad, don't necessarily have a long shelf life. So that I think that's really, really important.
You touched on another really good hot button for me, and that is food donations around the holidays, right? Or food donations in general to shelters. look up your local shelter. They usually have a website, or call the executive director of your local shelter and ask what they need, because I think most people would be surprised to learn what they don't ever get. They never get spices. They never get healthy food. They very rarely get, non-perishable milks and baby formulas and things like that they really need. They often get, I can't even think of some of the things that are on their list, that they get them all the time, and they don't really need more of that. They need more of these other ingredients and these other food items. The pantry shelves are probably, packed with beans and things like that. They don't need more of that. Your particular shelter might, but that's the point, is that it's best to contact the shelter and find out what they really need and what food items they need. Because if they can't use them, it goes to waste. What they definitely don't need are, sugary treats and things like that. You think, oh, they'll enjoy that. So many people give those things, and it's not healthy. Again, these folks need to eat healthy, sustainable, energy generating foods, just like you and I do, and they can't survive on sugar sweetened cereals all the time. So
that's a really good point. So a little bit more some research before you get into that, even from if you find out the charity that if it's a food bank locally, and taking that extra step and actually asking, hey, how can we help? That's a really good piece of advice right there.
And not only what they need, but when do they need it? Because you'll also find, as I talked about a minute ago, this boom or bust thing happens where they get tons and tons of support, and then other times of the year they get none. They may say, oh, if you could come help us in May, that would be amazing. And so it's really great, especially if you want to focus hyper locally or locally on a charitable giving program that's going to help the folks in your community. It's really best to contact those charities or those shelters, those organizations, and find out what they need and when. They would love to get your call.
And you hit a really good point. Seasonality, go into it in May, being able to make a tremendous impact in a time where maybe everybody's not thinking about giving, right? So you're getting an immediate impact because your charitable donation is impacting somebody directly. It's not getting lost in all the other great things that other people are doing. So I love that. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a good one. One other tip that I could give, and as long as we're talking about what to give and we're talking about food items and things like that, I have several friends who scout the stores and news or the ads for buy one get one sales. So if there's a buy one get one on, let's say, a particular brand of shampoo, this friend of mine will buy one and get the free one, and she puts it in a box in her home, and she donates these boxes and boxes of free goods to her shelters at various times of the year when they need it. So you think about that, doesn't even cost a penny. I mean, wow. That's really the core, kind of giving you that extra item. It doesn't cost you anything. Donate that extra item. That's a great way to kind of give back without spending any money.
I love that idea. It's almost that along the same lines of rounding up, right?
Yes, right.
So because it doesn't necessarily feel like it's additional burden. Not that that's any excuse, but I think a lot of people, if they don't feel like it's impacting, especially with people in these times going through some very difficult, a lot of us financial times. So being able to make it easy on somebody, not to have to go that extra mile and find the money that they may need themselves. So
right. Another one of my favorite places to give this, well, not this time of year, but all year long, is most hospitals have a community fund for folks that don't have health insurance. I think in worldwide, I think less than half the world's population has health insurance or any kind of health coverage or health plan at all. But even locally, there are people in your community that have to be hospitalized for various reasons, and they don't have the funds and they don't have the insurance. So there are funds at most hospitals. I think all hospitals have a community fund. That's great to give to. You don't even know who you're giving the money to, but doesn't it feel special to know that it doesn't matter, that you've given some money to this money bank, that some person who's had an accident, suffered a stroke, had a heart attack, fallen down a stair, whatever, injured at work and doesn't have any coverage. That worry, you're helping to lessen that worry for someone. And maybe you just gave them $10 to that bank, but everybody putting a little in there makes a big difference to somebody you might not ever meet.
That's a really good point. I think I've heard of an exchange like that called MetaShare, and I think it's built on that same premise. So you're absolutely right. I love that. I know you guys are doing some amazing things there at Wingspread. I can't wait to have you share some things, some examples of some philanthropic and charitable initiatives that you guys got going on there. So
sure. Yeah. So, if, starting with the basis of, like I said, the basis of what the foundation was created to do, right? To serve these nonprofits and worthy organizations that are having meaningful conversations around things that matter to people in the world, in the community, here locally. But on top of that, a lot of the work that we do with our clients at Wingspread involves team building activities where they may be doing work for a local charity, whether that's making food for a food bank, whether that's assembling things for a Toys for Tot type of a organization. A lot of what we do through our team building efforts helps benefit the local community as well.
Fantastic. You'd shared a great idea that you guys are engaged with or about ready to ramp up there at Wingspread. Could you share that with us as well?
Oh yeah, that's a great idea. The buy one get. So we have a buy one get one program right now that we run through the end of April. And what that really entails is we allow our organizations that want to hold a meeting here at Wingspread. They hold their meeting here. They get a free day meeting to use anytime before the end of, I think, February. So I'll have to check the details, but I think it's before the end of February next year. But what we found interesting is we've had an inquiry from a local company that says, I don't need that extra day meeting, but is it okay if I give it to a local volunteer organization that we work with? And a light bulb went off in my head, and I thought, what a brilliant way to use, sort of our buy one, get one, if you want to call it that, our buy one, get one meeting program to benefit a local community organization. And there may be other companies that do a similar type of a thing. What can you do with your money or your team that then results in a giving event for someone else? And that buy one, get one's a perfect opportunity.
I love it. Kind of gets back to, it was the shampoo. That was a great set, right?
Yeah, you're right. Yep.
And I love that because like we mentioned before, a lot of nonprofits, smaller, may not have the resources to put together time and effort and all the money and budget it comes together to get the team together. So what an amazing opportunity to do that. So that's a fantastic idea, Eric. Thank you.
Great. Well, so you go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say I appreciate you spending a few minutes with us. Anything else you want to share with us before we cut?
I think that the last thing I'd share is that something that always comes to mind when we're thinking about giving is, you mentioned it before and we kind of touched on it with Charity Navigator and such, but, there are countless ways that you can research a cause that's worthy to you. And there's lots of ways to determine your own worth on your own set of values that, you may want to look at the executive compensation structure of the organization. You may want to look at its political affiliation or its alignment with the cause that you believe in. A little bit of research will go a long way in helping your money to find its best home. You could do something hyper-local, something local, something national or international, a small organization that rarely gets a lot of attention, or a huge one that gets lots of attention. So it really kind of depends on where you want to give and what you want to give. The other thing I don't think I mentioned was that this is a great way to give to the person who has everything, or the person that needs nothing. And we always have that person on our holiday list that needs nothing, and you don't know what to give them. If you know what their passions are, let's say that they're passionate about animals, and they will receive a nice acknowledgement of the gift that you gave on their behalf. And what a nice way to know that they don't need anything that you gave them, but you gave on their behalf to a cause that they feel passionate about. And I think that's just a wonderful way to do it. One-time gifts are always nice. This time of the year, it's always a great time to always think about extending that one-time gift to a monthly gift. It allows organizations to better plan for that money. So like you said, the boom or bust thing earlier, this happens with money too. So it comes in like crazy right now, and that's great. They always need it. But if they could plan, if they knew every month they were going to have that extra $20 from you and countless other people that might give, they can better plan their programming, their outreach, and help solve problems long-term instead of always trying to band-aid the issue.
I love that. In fact, it reminds me of, I don't know if I'd mentioned to you, our charitable donation. I reached out to an orphanage here just across the border in Mexico that is really small, very intimate. I just did some research on Facebook, found them. I loved the engagement that I saw. I loved what I read there. And for the last couple of years, we've been giving to this charity, this orphanage down in Tecate. And it's great because I can definitely, and we wait to send our money in till a couple of months down the road. So, kind of more in the springtime. So, that was you definitely hit on it.
Yeah, you get it. And even if this little video blog does nothing but to open people's eyes to the fact that we can give more often than just November and December. Even if it just does nothing more than to expand our awareness of the fact that people are hungry every day. People need healthcare every day. Pets need, your local shelter needs people to take their dogs for a walk or pet the cats, right? I think it's one of the hardest things for me to do. I've gone and walked a couple of sheltered pets, and it's very hard for me to let them go. But, they need affection and they need love too. So sometimes it's not money or goods. Sometimes it's just a gift of your time and your affection. So lots of ways to give. I think the important thing is give.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that. Just those small moments that you might have a break in your day. It doesn't have to be some huge commitment, right? I think sometimes that we get overwhelmed, and how we even started this conversation is there's just so much, and I think a person getting overwhelmed, but it's that one baby step that feeds your soul that you can see the direct impact that you're having on lives. And I loved your idea of something that you feel personally passionate about. Not that there's not a ton of need out there, but it gets back to even the work that we're doing daily. If there's a particular passion in there, and there's a internal motivation, you're going to continue to do it because it fulfills you. You see joy in it, and you're going to continue on with it versus it being, something that may not necessarily bring you the type of excitement that you could had you done some, a little bit more of the research and aligned yourself, right?
Yeah, absolutely right. I think it's one of the reasons why a lot of the donations that I give personally are done on a monthly basis, and they come straight out of my account because I don't even think about it anymore. I just know I'm doing good work with a company that's doing good work. So my donations to Human Rights Campaign go in every month, and it's been years. I know they're doing good work with that money, and I feel good about it every day. So again, it's something that I'm passionate about, and it's just automatically happening. And I know that every single day something good is being done with the donations that I'm giving to some of these causes.
I love that. Hey, it's a great way to end this. I could sit here and talk with you for hours on this. I'm sure what this will come up again. I love this conversation, and with Wingspread, there's so much to discuss. So I appreciate you spending a few minutes with us on a Monday, Eric.
Very happy to do it, and very happy. Hope we all get to share lots of blessings with lots of people this season. So thanks very much, Corey. I appreciate your time.